Life can feel overwhelming. Our minds fill up with worries, to-do lists, and reminders of things we haven't finished. It's easy to feel scattered, stressed, or unable to focus on what's truly important. If you've ever wished for more calm, better boundaries, or just a little more fun in your days, this book is for you. Paper Peace: How Planning Can Help with Anxiety, Boundaries, and Play offers a gentle and practical way to get out of your own head and onto the page. You don't need to be a natural planner or an organized person to use these ideas. You don't need fancy tools or complicated systems. All you need is a piece of paper, a pen, and a willingness to try something new. This book will show you how writing things down, your worries, your tasks, even your hopes, can make your mind quieter and your days smoother. You'll learn simple ways to sort out what needs your attention and what doesn't, and how to create a daily routine that actually supports you instead of draining you. You'll also discover how to set boundaries with your time, how to say no with kindness, and how to add more play and joy to everyday life. Everything here is designed to be friendly and flexible. These methods don't expect perfection. They help you clear space in your mind so you can think better, feel lighter, and make room for what matters most. Even if you feel too busy or too overwhelmed right now, these small steps can help you find peace, one piece of paper at a time. Wherever you're starting from, you deserve a life that feels calm, focused, and full of meaning. Let this book be your guide as you find your own paper peace. Chapter 1: Paper Peace. You are lying to yourself about your capacity. It is a comfortable lie, one that whispers that you can hold it all in your head: the deadlines, the promises, the groceries, the strategic pivots, the birthday texts. You believe that if you just pedal a little faster, wake up a little earlier, and optimize your caffeine intake, you will finally clear the deck. But the deck never clears. Instead, the fog thickens. You move through your days with a low-level hum of anxiety that spikes into panic whenever a notification pings. This is not a failure of effort. It's a failure of physics. Your brain was never designed to be a warehouse for your commitments. It was designed to be a factory for your ideas. By picking up this book, you have admitted that the current method is broken. You are tired of the chaos. You are done with the feeling of ending a 12-hour day wondering what you actually accomplished. You are in the right place. We are not going to add more to your plate. We are going to change the plate entirely. We are going to replace the tyranny of the urgent with the peace of the planned. This is not about becoming a robot. It is about building a scaffold of such reliable stability that you finally feel safe enough to play. The tyranny of the shapeless future. Anxiety thrives in ambiguity. When your future is shapeless, your nervous system defaults to a state of high alert. It scans the horizon for threats because you have not given it a map. This is simple biology. Your brain craves predictability as a safety cue. When you carry your life in your head, you deny your brain that safety. Every uncaptured task, every vague intention to email that client, clogs your working memory. Cognitive psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished tasks create a cognitive itch, a tension that remains until the loop is closed. When you have 50 open loops spinning in your mind, you are not thinking, you are juggling. The cost of this mental juggling act is devastating. You suffer from fragmented attention, where deep work becomes impossible because a part of your processing power is permanently allocated to not forgetting to buy milk. You experience decision fatigue before lunch because you are constantly re-adjudicating what to do next. Should you answer the email? Should you start the report? Should you call your mother? Without a plan, every moment is a choice, and every choice burns glucose. By 2 p.m., your willpower is ash and you default to the path of least resistance, doom scrolling and busy work. This internal chaos bleeds outward. Your boundaries blur because you cannot defend a schedule you haven't defined. When a colleague asks for 5 minutes, you say yes, not because you have the time, but because you don't have the evidence to say no. You become reactive. You confuse motion with progress. You are busy, frantically busy, but you are not effective. And the people you love get the worst version of you, the irritable, distracted, depleted version who is physically present but mentally scrolling through a to-do list. The analog antidote. The solution is not another app. Digital tools are excellent for speed, but they are terrible for peace. They are infinite pools of distraction, glowing portals where a calendar notification sits pixels away from a breaking news alert. To reclaim your mind, we must introduce friction. We must return to paper. Paper adds a necessary analog friction to your life. It slows you down just enough to think. When you write a task by hand, you are forced to engage with it. You cannot copy-paste 1,000 anxieties into a notebook. The physical act of writing forces you to filter, to choose, to acknowledge. This is cognitive offloading in its purest form. You are taking the ephemeral, swirling vapor of your thoughts and turning them into concrete, manipulable objects in the physical world. Once a worry is written down, your brain grants you permission to stop ruminating on it. It creates object permanence for your obligations. This system is designed to be lightweight. We are not creating a museum of your days. We are building a tool for your sovereignty. The goal is steady calm anchored by predictable days. When you trust your system, the anxiety drops. You know that if it is important, it is written down. You know that if it is not on the schedule for today, you do not need to think about it today. You respond with intent instead of reacting from fear. Your week begins to feel designed, not improvised. The architecture of sovereignty. You might think that structure kills freedom. You might look at the idea of a planned day and see a cage. This is the amateur's view. The professional knows that structure is the only path to freedom. Look at the historical titans of industry and art. Benjamin Franklin did not wake up and wonder what to do. He had a rigid structure that allowed him to be prolific. Bill Gates, one of the busiest men in history, famously carved out think weeks, massive blocks of protected time. These winners understood that you cannot have high-level output with low-level planning. If you continue to resist structure, you are choosing burnout. You are choosing a life where everything is urgent because nothing has been prioritized. You will continue to fight fires until you are the one who burns out. The resentment will grow, resentment toward your boss, your family, your clients, because you feel like they are stealing your time. But they are not stealing it. You are leaving it unlocked on the sidewalk. When you implement the strategies in this book, you will achieve something rare: clear, kind boundaries that others respect. No becomes a factual statement, not an emotional rejection. You will be able to point to your plan and say, "I cannot do that today," without a shred of guilt. You will protect your energy, and by doing so, you will protect your excellence. The 8 steps to peace. We are going to build this system together, layer by layer. We will not throw you into the deep end. We will construct a fortress of calm using 8 specific strategies. First, we must clear the debris. You cannot plan a route if your windshield is covered in mud. We will begin with the mind sweep. This is not a grocery list. It is a forensic audit of your mental load. We will extract every task, worry, and vague notion from your gray matter and trap it on the page. We will empty your head so completely that you will feel physically lighter. Once the capacity is created, we will build the frame. You will learn to construct a calm schedule. This is not about filling every minute. It is about blocking anchors, buffers, and deep work. We will treat your time with the same respect a museum curator treats a gallery wall, placing items with intention and leaving space to breathe. With the schedule in place, we must defend it. The anti-urgency strategy will teach you to separate true deadlines from the fake alarms that govern your current life. You will learn to spot the difference between a fire and a noise. Then, we will erect boundary lines. You will learn to turn your values into time blocks that no one is allowed to touch. But a life of pure efficiency is dry and brittle. To make this habit stick, we must inject joy. Playful Design will show you how to use visual cues and tactile rituals to make your planning session the best part of your day. We will then visualize your progress with flow boards, a method to stop you from starting 50 things and finishing nothing. You will learn the power of the done parade and the addiction of visible momentum. Finally, we will close the loop with reflect and review. You will turn your pages into a mirror, learning from your weeks rather than just surviving them. All of this culminates in peaceful momentum, where the system begins to compound and the results multiply while the effort decreases. Winners capture, losers react. There is a fundamental difference in attitude between those who own their time and those who are owned by it. Winners capture, choose, and close. They externalize their thinking. They do not trust their memory. They trust their ink. They prioritize ruthlessly, understanding that doing everything is the same as doing nothing. They protect their limits with facts, not apologies. They schedule play on purpose because they know that a grind without grace leads to a breakdown. Losers carry, react, and delay. They hold tasks in their mind like a badge of honor, unaware that they are leaking cognitive power with every step. They mistake speed for importance. They run fast in the wrong direction. They wait for leftover time to rest or create, but they never find it because work expands to fill the container you give it. You are here to join the ranks of the winners. You are here to stop apologizing for your boundaries. You are here to realize that peace is not a place you find. It is a thing you make. It is built with paper and pen, one day at a time. The deceptive simplicity. Do not be fooled by the simplicity of the tools we will use. A pen is a simple tool, but in the right hands, it writes constitutions. A notebook is a simple object, but it can contain the blueprint for a new life. The complexity is not in the tool, it is in the discipline of the practice. We are going to strip away the noise. We are going to stop looking for the perfect app that will magically organize your life. That app does not exist. The algorithm for peace is already inside you. It just needs a surface to land on. In the coming chapters, we will dismantle the habits that have kept you anxious and reactive. We will replace them with protocols that are robust enough to handle a crisis, but flexible enough to handle being human. You will learn to look at a Tuesday afternoon not as a terrifying void or an overwhelming crush, but as a canvas you have prepared. But before we can build the new structure, we must deal with the backlog. We must confront the sheer volume of what you are currently carrying. It is likely more than you think. It is hiding in the corners of your mind, disguised as background noise. It is time to turn the lights on. It is time to drag every shadow out into the open where it can no longer hurt you. The first step is the most terrifying and the most liberating. You are about to silence the noise. You are about to find out exactly how much weight you have been dragging up the mountain. The pen is ready. The page is blank. The silence is waiting. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2, Mind Sweep. Have you ever tried to fall asleep only to be jolted awake by the sudden realization that you forgot to reply to that one email from 3 days ago? Or perhaps you are in the middle of a conversation with a loved one, nodding along while your brain is secretly replaying a mental movie of everything you need to do tomorrow. That hum you hear in the background of your life, that static that never quite goes away, is not a personality trait. It is not a sign that you are broken, and it is certainly not a badge of honor proving how busy you are. It is the sound of your working memory screaming for mercy. You are walking around with a mental backpack that is overflowing with rocks. Some of those rocks are massive boulders, like a looming project deadline. Others are tiny pebbles, like the need to buy toothpaste. But your brain, in its infinite and sometimes inconvenient wisdom, does not distinguish between the weight of the boulder and the weight of the pebble. It carries them all with the same desperate grip, terrified that if it lets go for even a second, disaster will strike. This chapter is where we put the backpack down. We are not going to organize the rocks yet. We are not going to decide which rocks are pretty and which ones are useless. We are simply going to take them out of the backpack, one by one, and put them on the table where we can see them. We are going to perform a mind sweep. The high cost of mental storage. You might believe the lie that keeping things in your head is faster. You tell yourself that writing it down takes time you do not have. This is a dangerous illusion. Speed without reliability creates rework. When you rely on your brain to hold your to-do list, you are using your creative engine as a storage unit. Your working memory is incredibly narrow. It is designed to process what is happening right now, not to warehouse what might happen next week. When you force it to hold on to uncaptured tasks, you trigger what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect. This is the brain's tendency to fixate on unfinished tasks. It is like having 50 browser tabs open on your computer. You might only be looking at one, but the other 49 are draining your battery and slowing down your processor. Every uncaptured "I need to" creates an open loop. These loops do not sit quietly. They tug at your attention. They interrupt your focus. They spike your cortisol levels when you are trying to relax. This is why you feel exhausted even when you haven't done anything physical. You are exhausted because you are mentally juggling, and the moment you drop a ball, which you inevitably will, you erode trust in yourself. We need to clear the RAM. We need to move from a state of internal holding to external capturing. This is the principle of cognitive offloading. By moving the data from your neurons to the paper, you free up your mental capacity for actual thinking, problem-solving, and being present. You cannot plan from clutter. You must create capacity first. The protocol of total extraction. The tool we use for this is the mind sweep. It is not a polite to-do list. It is a brain dump. It is a forensic audit of your mental load. To do this, you need your notebook, a pen, and a timer. You are going to set that timer for 10 minutes. For those 10 minutes, you are going to write. You are not going to judge what you write. You are not going to organize it. You are not going to worry about whether it is important or trivial. If it is in your head, it goes on the paper. Write down the big projects. Write down the vague feeling that you need to call your sister. Write down the fact that the hallway light bulb is flickering. Write down your anxiety about the economy. Write down the idea for a novel you had in the shower. Keep the pen moving. If you stop, ask yourself, what else is on my mind? And wait for the answer. There is a physical posture to this. Stand up if you have to. Pacing or standing can prevent the stagnation of overthinking. Let the ink flow as fast as your thoughts. You are looking for volume, not quality. You are emptying the junk drawer onto the floor so you can finally see what is in there. Once the timer goes off, look at what you have captured. You have just created object permanence for your obligations. As long as a task lives in your head, it is a feeling, a vague, heavy, shapeless cloud of pressure. Once it is written down, it is an object. It has edges. It has a size. It is a thing you can manipulate, sort, and eventually crush. Sorting the noise from the signal. Now that the ink is dry, we need to make sense of the chaos. Most people make the mistake of treating everything they wrote down as a task. But if you look closely at your list, you will see that it is actually composed of 3 very different things. We are going to label them right there on the page. Go through your list and mark each item with a T, a D, or a W. T is for task. These are actionable steps. Buy light bulbs is a task. Email the accountant is a task. These are things you can physically do. D is for decision. This is a subtle but crucial distinction. Often, we procrastinate on a task because it is actually a decision in disguise. Plan vacation is not a task. It is a complex web of choices. Decide on dates for vacation is a decision. You cannot do the task until you make the decision. By labeling it a D, you acknowledge that you need to sit down and make a choice, not just grind out work. W is for worry. This is the most important category for your peace of mind. You will find items on your list like, I'm afraid I'll miss the deadline, or what if the client hates the proposal? These are not tasks. You cannot do a worry. You cannot check it off. If you leave these on your to-do list, you will stare at them every day, feeling paralyzed because there is no verb attached to them. The parking lot for ghosts. We need a special place for those W's. We call it the worry parking lot. Turn to a fresh page in your notebook. This is where your anxieties go to sit still. When you identify a worry on your sweep list, move it to this page. But we are not just copying the fear, we are diffusing it. We are going to use a technique called affect labeling. Neuroscience tells us that when we name an emotion, we reduce the activation in the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for the threat response. When you write, "I am worried," you are taking the power away from the feeling. On your worry parking lot page, write the worry in a specific format. I feel emotion about situation because reason. For example, I feel anxious about the quarterly review because I haven't finished the report. Then you're going to add one single line beneath it, not an emergency. Next step is. In this case, the next step might be open the report file. Suddenly, the ghost is gone. You have turned a haunting fear into a concrete 2-minute action. You have parked the worry so it stops driving the car. You have looked the monster in the eye and realized it is just a shadow on the wall. The 3-minute morning. You do not need to do a full 10-minute mind sweep every single day. That is a heavy lift reserved for when you feel the fog descending or the pressure mounting. For daily maintenance, we use the micro sweep. This is your morning reset. It takes 3 minutes, perhaps while your coffee is brewing. You open your notebook to your home base capture page. You ask yourself, what is new since yesterday? Capture only the new inputs. Did a new request come in late last night? Did you remember something while brushing your teeth? Write them down. Label them T, D, or W. Then, scan the list for anything that takes less than 2 minutes. If you see Send Invoice and you know the file is ready, circle it. Do it right now. Clear it. This gives you an immediate dopamine hit, a small win to start the day. Finally, place a star next to one single item. Just one. This is your finish first task. It is the one thing that, if completed, will make the day a success. We are not planning the whole day yet. We are just setting the compass. The trap of the ballooning list. There is a fear that comes with this process. You might look at your full mind sweep and feel a wave of nausea. The list is so long. It is a testament to how much you are behind. You might feel the urge to close the notebook and run away, back to the safety of ignoring it. This is the trap of the ballooning list. When you see it all in black and white, it can look like an indictment of your character. It is not. It is simply data. If the list feels too heavy, it is likely because you are hoarding commitments that do not serve you. We will deal with pruning these commitments later, but for now, understand that writing them down does not create more work. The work was already there. You were just carrying it invisibly. Now that it is visible, you have the power to delete it. You can look at an item and say, actually, I am never going to do this. Cross it out. That is a victory. Another common pitfall is the scary task that stalls your pen. You know the one. It is so big and vague that you don't even want to write it down. Fix finances. Write book. These are not tasks, they are projects. If you find yourself hesitating, break it down. Don't write fix finances. Write download bank statement. Write the first 5-minute step. Start before the fear grows. The analog friction. You may be tempted to do this on your phone. You may think, I can type faster than I can write. Resist this. Digital tools are slippery. They are designed to be frictionless, which means it is too easy to add 100 things without truly processing them. Paper provides resistance. It slows you down. It forces you to feel the weight of what you are committing to. This tactile cue, the scratch of the pen, the smell of the ink, signals to your brain that this is real. It grounds you. And when you finish the sweep, take a deep breath and physically touch the page. This is a somatic signal to your nervous system. I have it. It is safe. I can let go now. The silence after the storm. When you successfully integrate the mind sweep into your life, the result is startling. It is not just that you are more organized. It is that you are quieter. The internal chatter dies down. The 3 a.m. panic attacks subside because your brain learns to trust your system. It knows that if a thought appears, it will be captured, parked, and processed. It doesn't need to keep reminding you. You will find that your decision-making improves. When you aren't fighting through a fog of uncaptured open loops, you can see the landscape clearly. You can distinguish between what is loud and what is real. You stop reacting to the latest ping and start responding to the deepest need. But here is the catch. You have emptied your head. You have a list of tasks, decisions, and parked worries. You have clarity. But clarity without containment is just a different kind of chaos. A list, no matter how complete, is an infinite demand on a finite resource. You have the what, but you do not yet have the when. If you stop here, you will just stare at a very long, very clear list and feel overwhelmed by the sheer impossibility of doing it all. You have the bricks, but you don't have the house. To turn this raw data into a livable life, we need to build a frame that is strong enough to hold your ambition, but flexible enough to forgive your humanity. We need to stop managing tasks and start designing time. The list is waiting, but the clock is ticking, and if you don't tell your time where to go, it will disappear before you even pick up the pen. Chapter 3: Calm Schedule. You wake up, and the race has already started. Before your feet even touch the floor, your mind is sprinting. You are calculating the drive time, the meeting prep, the emails you didn't send last night, and the vague promise you made to call a friend. You are already behind. You move through the morning with a tightness in your chest, reacting to whatever screams the loudest. You are a pinball in a machine designed by others, bouncing from bumper to bumper until you fall into the drain at 10 p.m., exhausted but unsure if you actually won anything. This is not how you were meant to live. You were not designed to be a reactive engine. You were designed to be an architect. In the previous chapter, we emptied the junk drawer of your mind. You now have a list, a clear, categorized inventory of your commitments. That is a massive victory. But a list without a when is just a wish. If you stop there, you will simply stare at your notebook, overwhelmed by the volume of tasks, paralyzed by the paradox of choice. To move from clarity to control, we must build a frame. We must take those tasks and give them a home in time. We are going to build a calm schedule. The safety of the frame. There is a pervasive myth that structure kills freedom. You might tell yourself that you want to be spontaneous, that a schedule feels like a cage. You resist planning your day because you want to keep your options open. But look at your open days. Are they filled with spontaneous bursts of creative genius and joyful adventures? Or are they filled with doom scrolling, low-level indecision, and the guilt of procrastination? True freedom is not the absence of structure. It is the presence of a safety net. Your brain craves predictability. When the future is a shapeless void, your amygdala, the threat detection center of your brain, stays on high alert. It scans the horizon for danger because it doesn't know what's coming next. By designing your day, you are sending a powerful signal to your nervous system. I have a plan for this. We are safe. Think of your schedule not as a prison, but as a trellis. A vine without a trellis is a tangled mess on the ground, vulnerable to rot and pests. A vine with a trellis can climb, find the sun, and bear fruit. We are going to build your trellis. But unlike the rigid, overstuffed calendars of the past that made you want to rebel, this trellis will be flexible. It will be humane. It will be built with the understanding that you are a human being, not a hard drive. Anchors in the storm. The mistake most people make is trying to pour their to-do list directly into their calendar like wet cement. They fill every 15-minute slot from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., creating a wall of color-coded obligation. Then, at 8:15 a.m., a crisis happens, the whole wall crumbles, and they abandon the plan entirely. We are going to do something different. We are going to place anchors. An anchor is a non-negotiable block of time dedicated to a specific type of energy. You are going to start with just 3. First, you need a deep work anchor. This is 90 to 120 minutes where you do the heavy lifting, the project that requires your best brain, the finish first item you start in your mind sweep. This block is sacred. It is the time when you move the needle. Second, you need an admin anchor. This is a smaller block, perhaps 30 to 60 minutes, where you batch the shallow work. This is for the emails, the phone calls, the scheduling, the paperwork. By containing this noise in a specific container, you stop it from leaking into your deep work. Third, and most importantly, you need a recovery anchor. This is not leftover time. This is a deliberate block for refueling. It might be a walk, a period of reading, or simply sitting in silence. If you do not schedule recovery, your body will take it by force in the form of burnout or illness. When you place these anchors in your notebook, you are making a pre-decision. You are deciding now, when you are calm, how you will spend your time then, when you are tired. You are removing the burden of choice from your future self. The shock absorbers. Here is the secret that separates the amateur planner from the professional. Buffers. The amateur plans for the perfect day. They assume the meeting will end exactly on time, the traffic will be light, and the printer will not jam. The professional knows that the world is chaotic. The professional plans for friction. You must insert buffers between your commitments. A buffer is a 15 to 30-minute slice of nothingness. It is the white space on the page. It is the shock absorber of your day. When the meeting runs late, and it will, the buffer absorbs the impact so it doesn't knock over the next domino. When you get an urgent call, the buffer gives you the capacity to handle it without destroying your deep work anchor. If you look at your schedule and there is no white space, you are not efficient. You are fragile. You are one minor inconvenience away from a total collapse. By adding buffers, you are acknowledging reality. You are building a system that can take a hit and keep moving. Naming the outcome. As you block out these times, pay close attention to the language you use. Most people write activities, write, meeting, project X. This is weak. It gives your brain no traction. When you sit down to project X, you have to waste energy figuring out what that actually means. Instead, name your blocks by the outcome. Don't write write. Write draft first 3 pages of proposal. Don't write meeting. Write finalize budget approval. When you name the outcome, the block becomes a mission. You know exactly what winning looks like for that hour. It creates a sense of propulsion. You are not just spending time, you are achieving a result. This subtle shift in language cuts through procrastination because it removes the ambiguity of where to start. The 60% rule. You are going to feel a temptation to overstuff your anchors. You will look at the blank page and think, I can do so much today. You will want to fill the trellis until it groans under the weight of your ambition. Stop. Adopt the 60% rule. Plan to use only 60% of your available capacity. Leave the other 40% open. This sounds terrifyingly unproductive, but it is the only way to actually get things done. That 40% is for the unexpected. It is for the task that takes 3 times longer than you thought. It is for the sudden request from your boss. It is for the moment you simply need to stare out the window to solve a problem. If you plan for 100% capacity, you will fail 100% of the time. If you plan for 60%, you will finish your work, handle the surprises, and end the day feeling like a victor rather than a victim. The midday reset. Even with the best anchors and the thickest buffers, some days will go off the rails. A true emergency will strike. You will wake up with a migraine. The plan will shatter. The amateur looks at the shattered plan and says, well, the day is ruined. I might as well give up. They throw the notebook in the corner and surrender to the chaos. The winner performs a midday reset. This is a specific ritual. When the chaos hits, you stop. You take a breath. You look at your schedule, which you should have written in pencil or erasable ink for exactly this reason, and you edit. You do not judge yourself for the disruption. You simply navigate around it. You erase the deep work block that got cannibalized by the crisis and move it to tomorrow. You shift the admin anchor. You adjust the course. The schedule is not a commandment carved in stone. It is a map drawn in the sand. The tide will come in. The landscape will change. The goal is not to stick to the plan at all costs. The goal is to keep steering the ship. Visualizing the no. One of the most powerful effects of the calm schedule is that it makes your boundaries visible. When your day is a blank void, it is very hard to say no to a request. It feels like you have infinite time, so why not squeeze in one more thing? But when you look at your page and see the blocks, deep work, admin, recovery, buffer, you see the finiteness of your day. You see that saying yes to a random request means physically erasing something that matters to you. You can look at the requester and say, I don't have a slot for that today. You aren't lying. You aren't being difficult. You are simply reporting the facts of your inventory. The schedule protects you. It stands between you and the world, filtering the noise so that only the signal gets through. The playful flourish. Finally, we must ensure this doesn't become a grind. We need to weave a thread of joy into the fabric of the day. You must pre-block a microplay break. This is 10 to 20 minutes of pure, unadulterated uselessness. It is not recovery. It is play. It is doodling. It is listening to a favorite song. It is watching a funny video. It is doing something that has no purpose other than to make you smile. Why schedule this? Because if you don't, you will try to power through and your brain will rebel. It will force you to procrastinate. By scheduling the play, you turn it from a guilty vice into a strategic advantage. You are telling your brain, work hard now and we get to play at 3 p.m. It renews your attention and keeps the dopamine flowing. The pencil is your sword. So here is your task. Tomorrow morning, or better yet tonight, open your notebook, take your pencil, draw the lines. Block your anchors. Be generous with your buffers. Name your outcomes. Leave the white space. When you look at that page, you should feel a sense of relief. You should see a day that looks livable. You should see a day where you are not running a race you can't win, but walking a path you built. But there is a problem we haven't solved yet. You can build the most beautiful, humane, buffered schedule in the world. You can have your pencil ready and your anchors set. But the moment you step out into the world, you are going to be bombarded. Your phone will light up, your inbox will ding, people will rush at you with hair on fire, screaming that the sky is falling. They will use a word that is the enemy of everything we have built. They will tell you it is urgent. And if you don't know how to handle that word, if you don't know how to strip it of its power and see what lies beneath it, your beautiful schedule will burn to ash in the first hour of the day. We have built the fortress, but now we must learn to defend the gate. We need to talk about the difference between a fire and a false alarm. Chapter 4, Anti-Urgency. The notification sound is the modern equivalent of a twig snapping in the dark forest. It is a sharp, sudden intrusion that bypasses your logic and strikes directly at your nervous system. Your phone buzzes and your stomach drops. Your email dings and your shoulders tighten. For a split second, your body prepares for a tiger, but usually it is just a newsletter you never signed up for or a colleague asking a question they could have answered themselves. You are living in a state of chronic, low-grade alarm. You treat every input as if it carries the same weight, reacting to a text message with the same physiological intensity as a genuine crisis. This is not just exhausting, it is dangerous. When everything feels urgent, nothing is truly important. You become a firefighter who sprays water on the cat, the mailbox, and the clouds, leaving you with no pressure left in the hose when the house actually catches fire. This chapter is about breaking the addiction to the immediate. We are going to install a filter between the world's noise and your attention. We are going to dismantle the everything is urgent reflex and replace it with a cold, hard look at reality. You're going to learn the art of anti-urgency. The volume knob versus the value score. The fundamental error most people make is confusing volume with value. Urgency is volume. It is how loud a task is screaming. It is the flashing red light, the bold font, the vibration in your pocket. Importance is value. It is the actual impact that completing the task will have on your long-term goals and your peace of mind. Our brains are wired to prioritize volume. In the wild, the loud noise was the threat that could kill you. But in the modern office or home, the loud noise is often just a distraction. When you let urgency dictate your day, you are letting other people's poor planning become your emergency. You are spending your limited energy capital on things that are loud but hollow. To reclaim your sovereignty, you must learn to map your world. You need to take the items from your Minesweep and place them on a simple 2x2 grid. This is not just a sorting exercise, it is a confrontation with the truth. Imagine a square divided into 4 quadrants. In the top right, you have the fire. These are tasks that are both urgent and important. The tax deadline is tomorrow. The client server is down. The baby is crying. These are real. You must do them, and you must do them now. But be honest, true fires are rare. If you have more than 3 of these a day, you are not unlucky. You are disorganized. In the bottom right, you have the noise. These are tasks that are urgent but not important. This is the quadrant that kills your dreams. It is the email that demands a reply within the hour but adds 0 value to your project. It is the meeting that could have been an email. It is the favor someone asks of you that benefits them but drains you. This is where you feel busy, but you are actually just being used. In the bottom left, you have the trash. Not urgent, not important. This is doom scrolling. This is reorganizing your desktop icons when you should be writing. This is escape behavior. But the most critical sector is the top left. This is the gold. These are tasks that are important but not urgent. Exercise, strategic planning, writing the book, deepening a relationship, learning a new skill. These tasks never scream. They never buzz. They sit quietly in the corner, waiting for you to notice them. And because they are quiet, you ignore them. You tell yourself you will get to them when things calm down, but things never calm down. The noise will always be louder than the gold. Unless you actively practice anti-urgency, the gold will remain untouched until it turns into a regret. The deadline ledger. Anxiety loves ambiguity. When you have a vague sense that something is due soon, your brain interprets that as due now. You create false deadlines for yourself, sprinting to finish a report on Tuesday that no one will read until Friday. You burn out trying to beat a clock that isn't even ticking. We are going to stop gaslighting ourselves with fake dates. We are going to build a deadline ledger. In your notebook, you will create a distinction that changes everything. You will separate due dates from review dates. A due date is a fact. It is externally verifiable. If you do not submit the grant application by 5 p.m. on the 1st, you lose the money. If you do not pick up the kids by 3 p.m., you are a bad parent. These are real. In your planner, these get a red dot. Red is for blood. Red is for reality. Everything else, and I mean everything else, is a review date. That project you want to finish by Thursday because you feel like it should be done? That is not a deadline. That is a preference. When you label it a deadline, you trigger a stress response. When you label it a review date, you retain control. You are telling your brain, I intend to look at this on Thursday, but if a true fire breaks out, this can move. You must demand evidence for your red dots. If you feel the panic rising about a task, ask yourself, where is the proof? Is there an email, a contract, a law? If the only source of the deadline is your own anxiety, you are not allowed to use the red pen. You must write it in neutral ink. This visual distinction calms the nervous system. You can look at your week and see only 2 red dots amidst a sea of blue or black. Suddenly, the week looks survivable. The language of the shield. Once you have mapped your tasks and verified your deadlines, you need to defend your clarity. The world will try to pull you back into the noise. You need scripts, calm, repetitive phrases that act as a shield against the panic of others. The first script is for yourself. When the adrenaline spikes, you must interrupt the loop. Say it out loud. This is not an emergency. It sounds simple, but it is a physiological reset. Follow it with a question. What are my options? Panic gives you 1 option. Run. Logic gives you 3. Do, defer, or drop. The second script is for others. When a boss or client rushes at you with a super urgent request, do not match their energy. Slow it down. Lower your voice. Ask the golden question. What outcome matters most by Friday? This question forces them to leave the realm of volume and enter the realm of value. They might say, well, we need the report. You can then say, I can do the report, but that means the proposal moves to Monday. Which outcome is the priority? You are operationalizing opportunity cost. You are teaching them that your time is a finite resource, not a magic bucket. Every now displaces something else. By presenting the trade-off, you stop being a servant and start being a strategist. The speed trap. There is a myth that speed equals success. We worship the hustle. We think that if we are moving fast, we are winning. But speed without direction is just a fast way to get lost. Haste hides errors. When you rush, you miss details. You send the email without the attachment. You build the product with a fatal flaw. Then you have to spend twice as long fixing the mistake as you would have spent doing it right the first time. This is the irony of urgency. It slows you down in the long run. Anti-urgency is the discipline of slowing down to speed up. It is the sniper taking a breath before the shot. It is the surgeon pausing to check the chart before the cut. When you refuse to rush, you reduce rework. You reduce the friction of mistakes. You become smooth. And as the military adage goes, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. The red dot rule. Here is how you apply this tomorrow. When you look at your Minesweep list, before you move anything to your calm schedule, you must filter it through the anti-urgency map. Take your red pen, scan the list. Find the items that have external, non-negotiable consequences if missed within 48 hours. Put a red dot next to them. Be ruthless. If you are unsure, the answer is no. Most days, you should have no more than 3 red dots. If you have 10, you are either the president during a war or you are lying to yourself about what deadline means. Now, look at the items without dots. These are your choices. You get to decide when they happen based on importance, not fear. Find one item that belongs in the top left quadrant, the gold, the important, quiet task. Promote it. Give it a slot in your deep work anchor. Treat it with the same respect you treat the red dots. This is how you build a future instead of just surviving the present. The 48-hour question. When you are in the thick of the day and a new task lands on your desk, do not just add it to the pile, subject it to the interrogation. Ask the 48-hour question. If this waits 48 hours, what actually breaks? If the answer is nothing, then it is not urgent. It goes to the backlog. It goes to the bottom right or the top left. It does not get to hijack your current anchor. If the answer is the client leaves or we lose the contract, then and only then does it get the red dot. You will be amazed at how few things actually break. The world is surprisingly robust. People can wait, emails can sit, the sky rarely falls, even when the clouds look dark. The pitfall of the hero complex. Be warned, this shift will feel uncomfortable. You might miss the rush. There is a certain high that comes from being the hero who saves the day at the last minute. It feels good to be the one who puts out the fire. It validates your existence. When you practice anti-urgency, you stop being the firefighter and start being the fire marshal. You prevent the fires from starting. This is less exciting, it gets fewer applause, but it builds a life of peace. You have to decide if you want to be famous for your busyness or respected for your effectiveness. You might also face pushback. People are used to your instant reactions. When you start asking what breaks, instead of saying yes right away, they might look at you with confusion. They might try to push their anxiety onto you. Stand firm. Use your scripts. Show them the ledger. Logic is the antidote to panic. The sovereign stance. When you master this, you achieve a state of sovereignty. You are no longer a leaf blowing in the wind of other people's demands. You are the trunk of the tree. You decide what matters. You decide what gets your best energy and what gets your leftovers. You will finish the day knowing that you did the important work, not just the loud work. You will look at your ledger and see a sea of neutral ink, and you will feel a strange sensation, the absence of dread. But we have only fought half the battle. We have quieted the noise of the tasks, and we have filtered the false urgency. But there is a force more powerful than tasks, more persistent than deadlines, and more difficult to manage than any project. People. You can have the perfect map, the perfect schedule, and the perfect urgency filter, but eventually, someone is going to walk into your office or call your phone and ask for a piece of you that you cannot give. They will want your time, your energy, and your focus, and they will not be asking about work. They will be asking for you? How do you protect your peace without becoming a hermit? How do you draw a line in the sand that your mother, your boss, and your best friend will actually respect? We have built the walls of the fortress. Now we must learn the rules of engagement. It is time to talk about the invisible lines that define where the world ends and you begin. Chapter 5: Boundary Lines. You are leaking. You are leaking time. You are leaking energy. And you are leaking credibility. You walk through your week like a bucket with a dozen holes in the bottom, wondering why you are empty by Wednesday. You blame the volume of the water, but the problem is the integrity of the bucket. You say yes when you mean no. You say maybe when you mean never. You accept meetings without agendas, pick up calls during dinner, and let quick questions cannibalize your deep work. You do this because you believe that being available makes you valuable. You believe that a good employee, a good parent, or a good friend is an accessible one. This is a lie. Constant accessibility does not breed respect. It breeds resentment. It teaches the world that your time has no value because you have put no price on it. If you leave your front door wide open, you cannot be surprised when people walk in with muddy shoes. We have cleared your mind, scheduled your anchors, and filtered the false urgency. Now, we must pour the concrete. We must build the walls that protect the life you are designing. We are going to draw the boundary lines. The boundary budget. A boundary is not a wall you build to keep people out. It is a container you build to keep yourself in. Without a container, you are a spill. You spread thin until you evaporate. Most people treat their time as an infinite resource until they run out of it. They accept requests until the calendar is full, and only then do they start saying no. This is backward. You must budget your boundaries before the requests arrive. You need to decide how much of you is for sale and how much is reserved. To do this, we are going to establish 3 distinct calendars within your week. These are not separate documents, they are layers of protection. First, you need a focus calendar. This is your vault. It is the 10 to 15 hours a week where you do the work that actually matters, the work that moves your career or your passion forward. If you do not ring-fence this time, the shallow work will flood it. Second, you need a family calendar. This is not just for spouses and children. It is for your community, your friends, the people who will be at your funeral. Most people give their loved ones their leftover time, the scraps of energy remaining after the office has taken the prime cuts. This is a recipe for isolation. You must block 5 to 10 hours of high-quality, phone-down presence. Third, and most critically, you need a recovery calendar. This is the 3 to 5 hours where you do absolutely nothing of value to the economy. You sleep, you stare at the wall, you walk. This is where you repair the machine. When you look at your week through this lens, you realize something terrifying. You have very little inventory left. That is good. Scarcity creates value. When you realize you only have 4 hours of open time left, you stop giving it away to people who don't deserve it. The power of I don't. The hardest part of boundaries is the moment of refusal. The request comes in, a committee invite, a coffee chat, a favor, and your stomach tightens. You don't want to do it, but you don't want to be rude. So you start looking for an excuse. You say, I can't do it because I have this other thing. Stop explaining. When you explain, you are negotiating. You are giving the other person a chance to solve your problem so you can say yes. Oh, you have a meeting? We can move it. Now you're trapped. You need to shift your language from I can't to I don't. I can't sounds like a constraint. It sounds like you want to do it, but the world won't let you. I don't sounds like a policy. It sounds like an identity. I don't take meetings on Tuesday mornings. I don't check email after 6 p.m. I don't commit to new projects until next quarter. When you speak in policies, people stop arguing. They respect the rule. It isn't personal, it's just how you operate. It reduces what psychologists call ego depletion, the exhaustion that comes from constantly agonizing over decisions. When you have a policy, the decision is already made. You are just the messenger delivering the news. The scripted shield. You need armor for these conversations. You cannot rely on your wit in the moment because in the moment you will be flushed with the desire to please. You need pre-written scripts. These are your shield. When a request comes in that conflicts with your focus calendar, use the defer script. You say, I can start on this, but not until Thursday. Does that timeline still help you? You are not saying no, you are offering a conditional yes. You are testing if they need you or if they just need now. When a request is a flat refusal, use the decline script. I am not available for this. However, here are two other options. You close the door, but you point to a window. You are helpful without being sacrificial. When the request is valid but not for you, use the delegate script. I am not the right person for this, but Alex is. I am looping them in. Write these down. Keep them in the back of your notebook. When the pressure hits, do not improvise. Read the script. The clarity of your no is a kindness. It releases the other person to go find someone who can actually say yes with enthusiasm. The weekly prune. Even with the best scripts, weeds will grow. You will say yes in a moment of weakness. A recurring meeting will lose its purpose but stay on the calendar. A project will expand beyond its scope. This is natural entropy. To fight this, you must become a gardener. You must prune. Once a week, perhaps during your reflect and review session, look at your commitments. Look at everything you have promised to do. Then, take out your metaphorical shears. Identify the commitments that have become zombie obligations, undead tasks that eat your brain but offer no life. Kill them. Send the email. I've reviewed my capacity, and I can no longer give this project the attention it deserves. I need to step back effective immediately. This feels aggressive. It feels like you are breaking a promise. But the alternative is worse. The alternative is doing a mediocre job while resenting every minute of it. Pruning is not quitting. It is realigning your actions with your capacity. It is admitting that you are finite. The service level agreement. People treat you the way you teach them to treat you. If you answer emails at 11 p.m., you have taught your team that you are available at 11 p.m. If you respond to a text within 3 seconds, you have taught your friends that you are always interrupting your life for them. You need to establish a personal service level agreement, SLA. In the corporate world, an SLA defines the expected response time for a service. You need one for your life. Decide right now, what is your turnaround time on email? 24 hours, 48 hours? What is your policy on instant messages? Do you answer calls during deep work? Once you decide, publish it. Put it in your email signature. I check email at 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. For urgent matters, please call. Put it in your calendar notes. This is not arrogant. It is helpful. It manages expectations. When people know you will get back to them within 24 hours, they stop pinging you every hour. They relax because they know the system works. You are replacing the anxiety of will they answer with the certainty of they will answer when they are ready. The myth of the selfish jerk. There is a voice in your head screaming that if you do all this, people will hate you. You worry that you will be seen as cold, rigid, or not a team player. Let's look at the data. Who are the people you respect most in your field? Are they the ones who answer every email instantly and say yes to every distraction? Or are they the ones who are hard to reach because they are busy doing important work? We respect boundaries. We respect people who value their own time. When someone says, I can't do that, I'm fully booked, we don't think they are lazy. We think they are in demand. Conversely, the person who is always available, always saying yes, and always running late is not viewed as a hero. They are viewed as disorganized. They are viewed as a chaotic element. Boundaries enable reliability. When you protect your time, you ensure that when you do show up, you are fully there. You are not checking your phone under the table. You are not resenting being there. You are present, focused, and effective. That is the greatest gift you can give to your colleagues and your family. The trade-off conversation. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, a boss or a key stakeholder will push past your boundaries. They will demand you do something that violates your focus calendar. They won't care about your policy. In this moment, do not fold. Instead, present the trade-off. I understand this is a priority. If I do this now, the quarterly report will move to Friday. Are you okay with that trade? You are not saying no. You are asking them to make a management decision. You are making the cost of their request visible. Most of the time, when faced with the reality of the trade-off, they will back down. Oh no, don't move the report. This can wait. You have just defended your boundary without a fight. You simply turned on the lights and showed them the price tag. The color of calm. As you build these calendars, use your visual tools. Color code your boundaries. Make your focus blocks a cool blue. Make your family blocks a warm orange. Make your recovery blocks a soft green. When you look at your week, you should see a mosaic of your values. If your calendar is all gray, meetings, you are living a gray life. If it is vibrant with the colors of the things that matter to you, you will fight harder to protect it. But be careful, do not use red. Red is for deadlines. Red is for blood. Keep your boundaries calm. They are not emergencies. They are the foundation. The missing ingredient. You now have a system that is robust. You have a clear mind, a structured day, a filter for urgency, and walls to protect it all. You are a machine of efficiency. You are sovereign. But there is a danger here. A fortress can easily become a prison. A life of pure efficiency, pure boundaries, and pure output is sustainable, but is it desirable? If you look at your planner and it feels like a tool for a robot, you will eventually stop using it. We are not machines. We are biological creatures who run on dopamine and delight as much as we run on logic and discipline. We need to make this system sticky. We need to take this dry structural engineering and add a layer of humanity. We need to stop treating the planner as a taskmaster and start treating it as a sanctuary. To do that, we have to talk about the one thing most productivity gurus ignore. We have to talk about beauty. We have to talk about the sensation of the paper, the ink, and the visual cues that make your brain want to engage. We are about to leave the world of logic and enter the world of design. And it starts with a single, useless, wonderful doodle. Chapter 6, Playful Design. Walk into any office supply store, and you will find the graveyard of good intentions. It is the aisle filled with black, leather-bound planners that look serious, professional, and utterly soul-crushing. You have probably bought one. You used it for 3 days in January. You filled the first few pages with neat handwriting, listing your goals and your meetings. And then, somewhere around January 5th, you stopped. The notebook sits in a drawer now, mocking you. Why did you quit? You didn't quit because you are lazy. You didn't quit because you don't want to be organized. You quit because the tool felt like a punishment. We have spent the last 5 chapters building a fortress of logic. We have swept your mind, anchored your schedule, filtered the urgency, and built the boundary walls. You have a system that works, but a system that works is useless if you hate using it. If your planning ritual feels like a tax audit, your brain will find a million creative ways to avoid it. You will forget to check your schedule. You will lose your notebook. You will drift back into the chaos simply because the chaos feels more alive than the grid. This chapter is the antidote to the drudgery. We are going to take the cold, hard logic of your schedule and inject it with warmth. We are going to talk about playful design. This is not about turning your planner into a scrapbook or becoming a watercolor artist. It is about understanding a fundamental truth of human psychology. We move toward what feels good, and we recoil from what feels sterile. The aesthetics of approach. There is a myth that serious work requires serious tools. We believe that productivity must look like a spreadsheet, gray, grid-lined, and devoid of emotion. But look at the people who actually change the world. Richard Branson is famous for carrying a notebook everywhere, scribbling ideas and doodles. J.K. Rowling plotted the intricate worlds of her novels on hand-drawn grids that look more like treasure maps than project plans. These high performers understand that paper is a playground, not a prison. When you open a notebook that is visually inviting, your brain releases a tiny hit of dopamine. It signals approach behavior. You want to be there. Conversely, when you open a planner that is just a wall of black text and overdue tasks, your brain signals avoidance behavior. Your cortisol spikes. You feel the weight of the work before you even start. We are going to use visual salience, the quality of being noticeable and important, to hack this response. We are going to use icons, color, and tactile rituals to turn your planning session from a chore you dread into a sanctuary you crave. The visual language. You do not need to be an artist to do this. You just need a code. Words are heavy, symbols are light. When you scan a page full of handwriting, your brain has to read and process every sentence to know what is happening. That is cognitive load. We want to reduce that load so you can focus on doing the work, not reading about it. Create a simple icon language. This is your shorthand. For example, draw a small open square for a task. When it is done, fill it in. That act of filling the box is a micro reward. Use a star for a deadline, a real one, the kind with a red dot we discussed in the anti-urgency chapter. Use a circle for a waiting on item or a review point. Use a triangle for something you have delegated. Suddenly, your page is not a wall of text. It is a dashboard. You can glance at it and instantly see the shape of your day. You can see that you have 3 stars, deadlines, and 2 triangles, delegations. You process the information in milliseconds. This speed reduces anxiety because you feel oriented. You know where the dragons are. The palette of calm. Color is another tool we often misuse. Most people use color to scream at themselves. They use bright neon highlighters to mark everything that is important until the page looks like a radioactive spill. When everything is highlighted, nothing is highlighted. And worse, those neon colors mimic the biological signals of danger. We're going to switch to a gentle palette. Go to the art store and buy 3 mild highlighters or brush pens. Pick colors that soothe you, a soft slate blue, a sage green, a dusty lavender. Use these to categorize your blocks. Maybe blue is for deep work, green is for recovery, and lavender is for admin. Reserve the bright, alarming colors for the actual fires. If you use a neon red pen, use it only for the things that will truly break if you drop them. By keeping the rest of the page in a calm, cohesive palette, you lower the visual volume of your day. You are telling your eyes, and by extension your nervous system, this is manageable, this is orderly, this is safe. The tactile grounding. We live behind glass. We touch screens that are smooth, cold, and unresponsive. We type on keyboards that offer no resistance. This lack of friction makes our digital lives feel slippery and ephemeral. It is easy to delete an email. It is easy to swipe away a notification. Nothing sticks. Paper offers analog friction. When you write, you feel the drag of the pen on the fiber. This sensory input is grounding. It slows you down just enough to make you think about what you are writing. To maximize this, create a starter ritual. This sounds trivial, but it is a somatic switch. When you sit down to plan, do not just dive in. Take 10 seconds. Open your notebook. Run your hand down the edge of the page. Feel the texture. Uncap your pen and listen to the click. Take 1 deep breath. This sequence, touch, sound, breath, signals to your body that you are crossing a threshold. You are leaving the reactive world of the screen and entering the proactive world of the page. You are shifting gears. It grounds you before you make a single decision. The micro play break. Efficiency is brittle. If you try to run your engine at 100% capacity for 8 hours, you will overheat. You need coolant. In our system, that coolant is play. You must schedule microplay. This is not the same as the recovery anchor we discussed earlier, which is about rest. Microplay is about novelty. It is about engaging a different part of your brain. Block out 10 to 20 minutes in your day for something completely useless. Doodle a pattern in the margins of your notebook. Walk outside and look at the texture of the bark on a tree. Listen to a song and drum on your desk. This is not wasting time. This is resetting your attention span. Play reduces stress hormones and replenishes the cognitive resources you burn during deep work. When you return to your tasks after 10 minutes of sketching or humming, you are sharper. You have broken the tunnel vision. the end of session flourish. How do you end your day? For most people, the day doesn't end. It just sort of bleeds out. You answer one last email, close the laptop, and walk away with the vague, nagging feeling that you didn't do enough. The loop remains open. We need a closing ceremony. We need a signal that says it is done. This is where the flourish comes in. At the end of your planning session or the end of your workday, take 60 seconds to decorate the page. Draw a border around your completed tasks. Use a rubber stamp to mark the date. Sketch a tiny flower or a geometric shape in the corner. This serves two purposes. First, it is a reward. You get to do something creative and low stakes. Second, and more importantly, it is a visual lock. You are sealing the day. You are telling your brain, we have closed the book on this. We are not thinking about it anymore. It is a psychological period at the end of the sentence of your day. The trap of the art project. Now, a warning. It is very easy to fall into the trap of productive procrastination here. You can spend 2 hours drawing a beautiful header for your day and 0 minutes actually doing the work. This is not playful design. This is avoidance wearing a beret. You must embrace the constraint. Keep your kit minimal. You do not need a suitcase of supplies. 1 notebook, 2 pens, 1 black, 1 color, and 1 highlighter are enough. Set a timer for your decoration. Give yourself 3 minutes to set up the page and 60 seconds to close it. The constraint fuels the creativity. If you have unlimited time, you will obsess over perfection. If you have 3 minutes, you will make something simple and functional. Remember, the goal is not to make a page that is Instagram-worthy. The goal is to make a page that is you-worthy. The goal is to create a tool that is so pleasant to use that you actually use it. The return of the joy. When you implement these small touches, the icons, the soft colors, the tactile breath, the closing flourish, something shifts. You stop dreading the notebook. You start to see it as a friend. You will find yourself looking forward to that morning ritual. You will crave the feeling of the pen on the paper. You will enjoy the satisfaction of filling in the little square box. And because you enjoy it, you will keep doing it. Consistency is the only metric that matters in the long run, and enjoyment is the fuel of consistency. You have built a system that is strong, safe, and now beautiful. You have a map that is a joy to read. You are ready to work. But there is still a mechanical problem we have not solved. You can have a beautiful plan. You can have a calm schedule. You can have a lovely notebook with perfect icons. But when you actually start working, you can still get stuck. You can start 5 things and finish none of them. You can feel like you are wading through mud, pushing tasks forward by inches, but never crossing the finish line. We need to talk about the physics of work. We need to talk about how to make the work flow like water rather than pile up like stones. We need to visualize the invisible current that carries a task from to-do to done. There is a way to see this current, and it requires us to draw 3 simple columns that will change the way you perceive progress forever. Chapter 7, Flowboards. You are working hard. No one disputes that. You are sitting at your desk, the coffee is cold, and you are clicking between tabs with the ferocity of a concert pianist. You have your mind sweep list, and you have your calm schedule. You know what you need to do, and you have carved out the time to do it. And yet you feel stuck. You have 5 projects open on your desk. You have 3 emails half written in drafts. You are waiting for a call while trying to read a report. You are pushing a dozen boulders up a hill simultaneously, and because you are pushing them all at once, none of them are moving more than an inch. You are exhausted, but you have no momentum. You are busy, but you are not finishing. The problem is not your effort. The problem is your visibility. You are trying to manage a complex traffic system without a map. In your head, all these tasks are swirling together, fighting for the same limited lane of attention. You cannot steer what you cannot see. We need to take the work out of the abstract lists and calendars and put it onto a stage where we can watch it move. We need to visualize the flow. We are going to borrow a tool from the factory floors of Japan and the software studios of Silicon Valley, and we are going to simplify it for your notebook. We are going to build a flow board. The invisible traffic jam. Imagine a highway. If you pack cars bumper to bumper, filling every lane to capacity, how fast does the traffic move? It doesn't. It crawls. It stops. This is a paradox of flow. To move faster, you need empty space. You need fewer cars on the road. Your brain works the same way. When you try to multitask, which is really just rapid context switching, you are jamming the highway. Every time you switch from the report to the email and back to the report, you pay a tax. It takes time to reload the context, to remember where you were, to get back into the groove. If you do this 10 times an hour, you are spending more energy switching than working. The flow board is designed to stop this. It is a visual constraint that forces you to stop starting and start finishing. It exposes the traffic jam so you can clear it. It turns the invisible friction of your day into a picture you can fix. The landscape of motion. To build your flow board, you need a fresh sheet of paper. Turn your notebook sideways to landscape mode. We are going to draw 2 vertical lines, dividing the page into 3 columns. The first column, on the left, is the backlog. This is the waiting room. This is where tasks live before they are active. You can pull items from your Minesweep or your project lists and park them here. They are to do, but not to do right now. The last column on the right is done. This is the trophy room. This is where tasks go to die a glorious death. The middle column is the most important. This is doing. This is the engine room. This is the only place where work actually happens. Now here is the analog twist that makes this work. Do not write directly on the page. Use small sticky notes. Write 1 task per note. Why? Because work is kinetic. It moves. You need to physically pick up a task from the backlog and move it to doing. You need to feel the satisfaction of peeling it off doing and slapping it into done. This tactile movement engages your spatial memory. You are not just thinking about the work, you are handling it. The rule of 3. Now comes the hard part, the part that will make you uncomfortable. You must place a hard limit on your doing column. We call this a WIP, work in progress, limit. In manufacturing, they know that if you have too much inventory on the assembly line, everything slows down. Little's Law, a principle of queuing theory, proves that the more items you have in the system, the longer it takes for any single item to exit the system. Your WIP limit is 3. You are allowed to have a maximum of 3 sticky notes in the doing column at any one time, not 4, not 5, 3. This forces a brutal prioritization. If your doing column is full and your boss gives you a new urgent task, you cannot just add it. You have to make a trade. You have to move something back to the backlog to make room. You have to admit that you cannot do 4 things at once. This limit protects your focus. When you look at your board and see only 3 items, your anxiety drops. You know exactly what you are doing. You are not worried about the 50 items in the backlog because they are behind the line. They are not your problem right now. Your problem is the 3 notes in the middle. The art of breaking rocks. You will encounter a problem. You will put a sticky note in the doing column that says write book or launch website, and it will sit there. It will sit there for 3 days. It will mock you. It will clog your lane, taking up one of your precious 3 slots, but it won't move to done. This is because write book is not a task. It's a project. It's a boulder. You cannot move a boulder. You have to break it into rocks. If a task sits in doing for more than 24 hours without moving, it is too big. You need to chunk it. Take that sticky note down, rip it up, and replace it with 5 smaller notes. Draft Chapter 1 outline. Write first 500 words. Edit introduction. These are rocks you can carry. These are tasks that fit into a 15 to 30 minute window. When you break the work down, you reduce the resistance to starting. It is terrifying to launch website. It is easy to email developer about font size. Leonardo da Vinci used this method in his notebooks centuries ago. He didn't just paint the Mona Lisa, he broke down the study of light, the study of drapery, the study of the smile. He iterated, he moved through small chunks to achieve a massive whole. the dopamine of done. There is a reason video games are addictive. They give you constant, visible feedback. You kill the monster, you get the coins, the bar fills up, you level up. Real work rarely feels like that. Real work feels like an endless void where you send emails into the ether and hope for the best. The flow board gamifies your day. The done column is your scoreboard. Every time you move a sticky note to the done column, your brain releases a tiny hit of dopamine. You get a visual reward. You see the pile on the right growing. You see the pile on the left shrinking. You are winning. At the end of the day, do not just close the notebook. Perform a done parade. Look at the sticky notes in the right-hand column. Read them out loud. I drafted the proposal. I called the client. I fixed the bug. This sounds silly, but it is neurologically vital. You are closing the loop. You are countering the brain's negativity bias, which tends to focus on what you didn't do. You are forcing your brain to acknowledge your competence. You are building a reputation with yourself as someone who finishes things. The analog advantage. You might be tempted to use a digital app for this. There are hundreds of them. They are colorful, they have notifications, and they sync across devices. Resist the urge. Digital boards are out of sight, out of mind. You have to open a tab to see them. And when you open that tab, you are one click away from your email, the news, and the entire distracted world. A paper flow board sits on your desk. It is always on. It is persistent. You can see it from the corner of your eye. It stands as a silent sentry, reminding you of your focus. Here are your 3 tasks, it says. Why are you checking your phone? Furthermore, the physical constraint of the paper is a feature, not a bug. On a digital board, you can scroll down forever. You can have a backlog of 1,000 items. On paper, you run out of room. This forces you to be realistic. If you can't fit the sticky note on the page, you can't do the task. It brings you back to the physical reality of your limits. The Monday reset. Your board is a living organism. It will get messy. You will have days where the doing column gets clogged despite your best efforts. You will have tasks in the backlog that have been there for a month and are starting to curl at the edges. This is why you need the Monday reset. At the start of the week, look at your board with fresh eyes. Look at the backlog. Is there anything there that you are honestly never going to do? Throw the sticky note away. Be ruthless. If it has been there for 2 weeks and you haven't touched it, it's not a priority, it's a guilt trip. Look at the done column. It should be full of last week's victories. Clear it, take those sticky notes and archive them, or throw them in the recycling bin with a ceremonial flourish. You are clearing the deck for a new game. Look at the doing column. If something is stuck, ask for help. Ask yourself, why is this blocked? Do you need a decision from someone else? Do you need to break it down further? Do not let it sit there and rot. Unstick it or move it back to the backlog. The momentum of finishing. The ultimate goal of the flow board is to shift your mindset from activity to closure. Most people measure their day by how busy they were. I worked 8 hours, they say. But working 8 hours on 10 different things without finishing any of them is just churning water. You are tired, but you haven't moved the boat. The flow board forces you to measure your day by throughput. How many items crossed the line? It is better to finish 3 small things than to half-finish 10 big things. When you start finishing, you build momentum. Momentum is a physical force. It is easier to keep moving than to start from a dead stop. When you move that first sticky note of the morning to done, the second one becomes easier. You enter a state of flow not by magic, but by mechanics. You have greased the chute. The silent witness. Your flow board will become your most honest companion. It will not lie to you. It will show you exactly where you are overcommitted. It will show you exactly where you are procrastinating. It will show you the truth of your capacity. If you consistently fail to clear your doing column, the board is telling you that your eyes are bigger than your stomach. If your backlog is overflowing, the board is telling you that you need to say no more often. Listen to the board. It is showing you the physics of your work. But there is one final piece of the puzzle. You have the capture system, Minesweep, the time structure, calm schedule, the filter, anti-urgency, the protection, boundaries, the joy, playful design, and the execution engine, flowboard. You are moving tasks from left to right. You are getting things done. But are you doing the right things? And how do you feel about the things you're doing? A system that only looks forward is a system that is destined to drift. You can be very efficient at climbing a ladder that is leaning against the wrong wall. To ensure that your piece is permanent and not just a temporary burst of productivity, we need to build a mechanism for looking back. We need to turn the page into a mirror. We need to learn how to harvest the wisdom from your own days so that next week is not just a repeat of this week, but an evolution. Chapter 8, Reflect and Review. You are running a race with a blindfold on. You are running hard, your legs are pumping, your lungs are burning, and you are sweating. But because you cannot see, you do not know if you are running toward the finish line or off a cliff. You might be running in circles, passing the same tree over and over again, convinced that you are making progress simply because you are tired. This is how most people live their lives. They mistake exhaustion for effectiveness. They grind through the week, collapse on the weekend, and start again on Monday, hoping that this time will be different. But it is never different because they never stop to look at the map. They never pause to ask, is this working? We have built a powerful engine in the previous chapters. You have the fuel of the Minesweep, the chassis of the calm schedule, the steering wheel of the flowboard. But an engine without a dashboard is dangerous. You need to know your speed, your temperature, and your fuel levels. You need feedback. This chapter is about taking the blindfold off. It is about turning your notebook from a simple list of demands into a mirror of your soul. We are going to talk about the practice that separates the busy from the wise, reflect and review. The myth of I'll remember. You are lying to yourself about your memory. You believe that you will remember how you felt last Tuesday when that meeting went sideways. You believe you will recall exactly why you didn't finish the report on Thursday. But human memory is not a video camera, it is a storyteller, and an unreliable one at that. Your memory is biased by your current mood. If you are feeling defeated today, your brain will rewrite last week to look like a series of failures. If you are feeling manic, it will gloss over the mistakes. Without a written record, you are navigating your life based on a fiction. Reflection converts experience into data. When you write down what happened, you strip away the emotional distortion. You create an objective record. You can look back and say, oh, I see a pattern. Every time I skip my morning walk, my afternoon focus collapses. That is not a feeling, that is a fact. And facts are things you can fix. The 3-line log. You do not need to write a memoir. You do not need to channel your inner Hemingway. If you try to write pages of prose every night, you will quit in 3 days. We need a protocol that is fast, surgical, and high yield. We call it the 3-line log. At the end of the day, perhaps right after your flowboard done parade, you are going to write 3 specific lines in your notebook. First, write the win. This must be concrete. I finished the proposal. I held the boundary with my boss. I took a nap instead of scrolling. This forces your brain to scan for success. It counters the negativity bias that naturally highlights your failures. You are training yourself to see your own competence. Second, write the friction. What got in the way? I was distracted by email. I didn't prep the data. I was too tired from staying up late. Be honest, but be kind. You are not judging yourself. You are diagnosing the machine. You are looking for the bottleneck. Third, write the feeling. Name it. I feel anxious. I feel proud. I feel drained. This is affect labeling in action. As we discussed earlier, naming an emotion reduces its power over you. It moves the activity from the emotional center of your brain to the analytical center. You are taking the ghost out of the machine and putting it on the paper. The weekly scan. Once a week, usually on a Friday afternoon or Sunday evening, you need to zoom out. The daily log is tactical. The weekly review is strategic. This is your CEO time. Set a timer for 15 minutes. That is all you need. Open your notebook and look at your calendar from the past week. Compare what you plan to do with what actually happened. Where are the gaps? Did your deep work blocks get eaten by meetings? Did your recovery time turn into work time? You are looking for leaks. You are looking for the places where your boundaries failed. And when you find them, do not beat yourself up. Just ask, why? Was the boundary too weak? Was the request too strong? How can I reinforce the wall for next week? Then, perform a commitment prune. Look at the week ahead. Is there anything on there that you dread? Is there anything that no longer aligns with your goals? Cut it. Upgrade a boundary. If you struggled with email last week, set a harder rule for this week. You are iterating. You are tuning the engine. The gratitude rewire. There is a soft skill that is actually a hard weapon: gratitude. This is not about toxic positivity or pretending everything is perfect. It is about rewiring your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information. If you look for problems, you will find them. If you look for progress, you will find it. In your weekly review, list 3 specific gratitudes. But here is the catch: tie them to behaviors, not luck. Don't write, "I'm grateful for the sunshine." Write, "I'm grateful that I took a walk in the sunshine." Don't write, "I'm grateful the project is done." Write, "I'm grateful that I stuck to my schedule and finished the project." By linking gratitude to your own agency, you reinforce the identity that you are the driver of your life. You are proving to yourself that your actions generate good outcomes. This builds resilience. It makes the habits stick because you are consciously celebrating the reward. The self-compassion pivot. Things will go wrong. You will have a week where you do not touch your planner. You will have a week where you ignore every boundary and eat lunch at your desk while crying. You will fall off the wagon. The amateur uses this as an excuse to quit. "I'm just not an organized person," they say. "This system doesn't work for me." The professional uses self-compassion planning. When the plan slips, you do not judge, you adjust. You treat yourself like a scientist running an experiment. Okay, the hypothesis that I could wake up at 5 a.m. was proven false. The data shows I am a zombie at that hour. Let's adjust the variable. Let's try 7 a.m. You must close the loops kindly. If you missed a deadline, acknowledge it, apologize if necessary, and set a new, realistic date. Do not spiral into shame. Shame is a terrible fuel. It burns hot and fast and leaves you stranded. Curiosity is a sustainable fuel. "I wonder why that happened," is a much more powerful question than "what is wrong with me?" The identity shift. The ultimate goal of this reflection is not just a better schedule, it is a better you. Over time, as you log your wins and diagnose your friction, your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is bad with time. You start to see yourself as someone who learns. You start to see yourself as someone who finishes. You will look back at your notebook after a month and see a record of growth. You will see that the problems you were agonizing over 3 weeks ago are solved. You will see that you are capable of handling more than you thought, provided you handle it with a plan. This compounding confidence is the greatest payout of the system. The trap of perfectionism. Be warned, perfectionism will try to hijack this process. You will sit down to write your 3 lines and think, "I need to write something profound." You will stare at the blank page, waiting for poetry. Stop, lower the bar, write bullets, write fragments. Win, sent email, friction, tired, feeling meh. That is a valid log. The value is in the consistency, not the prose. If you find yourself skipping the review because it feels like work, make it smaller, make it microscopic. Just write 1 word for the day. Just write good or hard. Keep the habit alive, even on life support, until you have the energy to revive it. The intentional close. End your weekly review with a single sentence of intention. Look at the week ahead and fill in the blank. This week succeeds if nor. Pick one thing, not 10. 1. This week succeeds if I finish the draft. This week succeeds if I leave work on time on Friday. This sets a North Star. It cuts through the noise of the hundreds of small tasks you will do and highlights the one that matters. It gives your brain a target. The mirror and the map. You have now built a complete ecosystem. You capture the chaos, you shape the time, you filter the noise, you protect the space, you enjoy the process, you visualize the flow, and you learn from the result. You are no longer running blind. You have taken the blindfold off. You can see the track, you can see the finish line, and for the first time in a long time, you can see yourself. But we are not quite done. We have the pieces, but we need to talk about how they fit together into a perpetual motion machine. We need to talk about how this system scales, because life is not static, it gets bigger. Your ambitions will grow, your responsibilities will multiply. Can a paper notebook really handle the complexity of a scaling life? Can this simple analog tool survive when you are managing a team, raising a family, and trying to change the world? The answer lies in the final chapter. It lies in understanding how these separate habits fuse into a single, unbreakable rhythm. We are going to talk about the physics of momentum and how to reach a speed where the friction of life simply falls away. We are going to talk about what happens when peace becomes not just a moment, but a movement. Chapter 9. Peaceful Momentum. Imagine a massive, heavy flywheel made of steel. It is 30 feet across and weighs several tons. Your job is to get it moving. At first, you push with all your might and it moves an inch. You push again, sweating, straining against the inertia, and it moves 2 inches. It feels impossible. It feels like the effort is disproportionate to the result. But you keep pushing. You apply the mind sweep. You apply the calm schedule. You push. Then, something shifts. The wheel completes a rotation, then another. You are still pushing, but the wheel is starting to help you. Its own weight, which was once your enemy, is now your ally. It builds speed. It builds momentum. Soon, you are barely touching it, and it is spinning with a force that could crush a wall. This is where you are now. You have spent the last 8 chapters building the components of this machine. You have learned to sweep the clutter from your mind, anchor your days, filter the false urgency, defend your boundaries, design with play, visualize your flow, and review your progress. Individually, these are powerful tools, but when you lock them together, they become a system. They become a flywheel. This chapter is about the transition from effort to ease. It is about how these separate practices fuse into a single, unbreakable rhythm that scales with your life. We are going to talk about peaceful momentum. The symphony of structure. You might be tempted to view the strategies we have discussed as a checklist of chores. You might think, great, now I have to do a sweep and a schedule and a flow board. If you see them as separate burdens, you are missing the magic. They are not separate. They are gears in the same watch. Think about how they feed each other. Your mind sweep clears the mental static so you can actually see what needs to be done. Because you can see the tasks, you can place them into your calm schedule with realistic buffers. Because your schedule is realistic, you can spot the false fires using your anti-urgency filter. Because you know what is truly urgent, you can confidently use your boundary scripts to say no to the noise. Because you have protected your time, you have the space to engage in playful design, making the work inviting. Because the work is inviting, you move it to your flow board and start finishing. And because you are finishing, your weekly review becomes a celebration of progress rather than an autopsy of failure. Do you see the chain? One link holds the next. If you break one, the tension collapses. If you stop sweeping, the schedule fills with junk. If you stop bounding, the flow board gets jammed. But when you keep the chain intact, the system becomes self-reinforcing. The better you plan, the calmer you get. The calmer you get, the better you plan. The quiet, competitive edge. We live in a world that fetishizes panic. We mistake stress for status. We look at the person running down the hall with a stack of papers and a vein throbbing in their forehead, and we think, wow, they must be important. But the truth is, panic is the hallmark of the amateur. The professional is calm. The professional has a plan. When you integrate these habits, you gain a superpower that is becoming extinct in the modern economy. the ability to direct your attention at will. While your colleagues are reacting to every ping and notification, bouncing off the walls of their own anxiety, you are moving with surgical precision. You stop reacting, you start directing. Your decisions feel lighter because you are not making them under duress. You have already made the pre-decisions in your notebook. The pressure that used to crush you becomes data. It is just information to be entered into the system, sorted, and executed. Calm becomes your competitive edge. In a room full of people screaming about the problem, the person with the notebook and the plan is the one who leads. The gift of reliability. This transformation does not just serve your career, it saves your relationships. Think about the friction in your life right now. How much of it comes from overpromising and under-delivering? How much comes from being physically present but mentally absent? When you have no boundaries, you resent the people you love because they take your time. When you have no capture system, you ignore your partner because you are trying to remember to buy milk. When you implement paper peace, you become reliable. Your no becomes a kindness because it prevents a resentful yes. Your yes becomes ironclad because you have checked your capacity before giving your word. When you sit down to dinner with your family, you are actually there. You aren't worrying about the project because the project is safely parked in the doing column of your flowboard. You aren't worrying about the deadline because it is logged in your ledger. You have closed the loops. You bring a calm, undivided presence to the people who matter most. That is the ultimate payout of organization. It isn't just about getting work done. It's about being a person others can trust. The compound interest of habit. At first, this will feel like work. You will have to remind yourself to open the notebook. You will have to force yourself to write the scripts. You will feel the friction of the new. But here is the promise. It gets easier. This is the law of compounding behavior. Every time you use a script, it becomes a reflex. Eventually, you won't need to look at the back of the notebook. The words, "I don't have capacity for that right now," will roll off your tongue with grace and confidence. Every time you run a mind sweep, your brain gets faster at dumping the load. Every time you respect a boundary, the people around you learn to respect it too. You are building a culture of one. Just as Bill Gates normalized think weeks to the point where his massive company respected his silence, you will normalize your own rhythms. Your boss will stop expecting the instant reply. Your family will understand that Sunday night is for planning. The friction falls away, and the flywheel spins on its own. The first domino. We are at the end of our time together, but we are at the beginning of yours. You have the theory. You have the tools. You understand the why and the how. Now you face the only thing that actually matters, the when. Do not close this book and say, "That was nice, I'll start on Monday." Monday is a lie. Monday is the graveyard of good intentions. Start now. The first step is not to overhaul your entire life. The first step is to prove to yourself that the paper works. Right now, open your notebook, turn to a fresh page, set a timer for 10 minutes, do a mind sweep, get the noise out of your head, feel the physical lightness that comes from offloading the burden. Then turn the page, block out tomorrow, not the whole week, just tomorrow. Set your anchors, draw the lines, give yourself a buffer. Finally, pick one thing, just one, mark it as your finish first task, and then schedule a 10-minute block for play. That is it. You have pushed the flywheel. It moved an inch. Peace is planned. There is a final truth you must accept. We often talk about finding peace, as if it is a hidden object or a destination we stumble upon. We think we will find peace when the project is over, when the kids grow up, when we get the promotion, when we retire. But peace is not found. Peace is planned. Peace is the result of 1,000 small choices made in the pages of a notebook. It is the choice to write it down instead of carrying it. It is the choice to draw a line and say, "Enough." It is the choice to forgive yourself for a bad day and plan a better one tomorrow. You are the architect. The chaos of the world is not going to stop. The noise is not going to get quieter. The demands are not going to shrink. but you are no longer defenseless. You have a pen, you have a page, and within the four corners of that paper, you have absolute sovereignty. Choose calm, choose craft, choose you. The pen is in your hand, the page is blank. Write your piece.